Chapter 21. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 21. Zhang Yi led Gu Shaoyang to the supply room, where he received 2 sets of standard blue shirts for inner sect disciples and a waistband signifying his new status. Senior brother Zhang, is this really where I'll be living? Gu Shaoyang asked, a look of disbelief on his face as he eyed the simple wooden shack. Zhang Yi gave an awkward nod. Gu Shaoyang pointed to a much nicer building nearby. What's that? Zhang Yi coughed. Well, junior brother Gu, the deal is this, only the top-ranked disciples on the merit list get the good housing here in the inner sect. The rest of us get these wooden houses. It's basically the sect's way of motivating us to train harder. Gu Shaoyang frowned. How often does the merit list get updated? Once a month, but anyone can challenge a disciple on the list at any time. If you win, you get their spot, and their housing. Gu Shaoyang nodded, understanding dawning in his eyes. So, if I beat whoever's living in that fancy place, I can just move in. Exactly. Shaoyang pointed to the small building. And who lives there? That's senior brother Huang Yuan, number 47 on the merit list. He's strong, in the middle stage of Juyuan. His bull demon palm technique is super powerful. Word is, he packs over 5,500 pounds of force into every strike. Hey, junior brother Gu, where are you going? Without turning around, Gu Shaoyang said, just wait here, senior brother Zhang. I'm gonna go evict this Huang Yuan guy and get my stuff moved in. Be right back. Okay, junior brother Gu, take it easy. Wait, what did you just say? Zhang Yi was about to agree but snapped to attention. His eyes widened as he stared after Gu Shaoyang, speechless. Did junior brother Gu just say he was going to evict senior brother Huang Yuan? He just got here. What if Elder Lin finds out Gu is injured? Panic set in, and Zhang Yi hurried after him. Junior brother Gu. Junior brother Gu, please, don't be rash. Gu Shaoyang had already reached the small building. It had its own little courtyard, and the gate was closed. Gu Shaoyang had been planning to kick the gate down, but then he thought better of it since it would soon be his property. Hey, Huang Yuan. You in there? Gu Shaoyang yelled at the top of his lungs. Huang Yuan, come on out and face me. The commotion quickly drew a crowd. Who's this little punk with the 9th level of Qi training? How did he even sneak into the inner sect? He's calling out Huang Yuan. Is this guy nuts? Telling Huang Yuan to come out and die? Haha, haven't heard a joke that good in ages. Everyone settled in, eager to see the show. A moment later, the courtyard gate flew open, and a hulking man stormed out. Which bastard is calling my name? Gu Shaoyang sized up his opponent. He was tall and powerfully built, with bulging muscles. His arms were exceptionally long, and his knuckles were thick. That would be me. Huang Yuan glared at Gu Shaoyang, radiating a menacing aura. Gu Shaoyang, unfazed, tossed his belongings to the side and said casually, I'll give you 5 minutes to pack your stuff and clear out. I'm moving in. The onlookers, including Huang Yuan, were stunned. They'd seen arrogance before, but this was off the charts. Was this kid completely out of his mind, or did he actually have something up his sleeve? You want me to pack my things? Huang Yuan asked, a dangerous smile spreading across his face as he cracked his knuckles. I think you've got a death wish. Huang Yuan stomped the ground, leaving a shallow crater in the hard-packed earth. Then he charged at Gu Shaoyang like a wild bull. The crowd murmured excitedly. What incredible power. Looks like Huang Yuan's bull demon palm has gotten even stronger. His arm strength has got to be over 5,700 pounds, right? I once saw Huang Yuan kill a level 3 monster with his bare hands. It was terrifying. This kid is in for a world of hurt. Zhang Yi was beside himself with anxiety. He wanted to rush in and drag Gu Shaoyang away, but knew he'd never be able to explain an injured Gu Shaoyang to Elder Lin, junior brother Gu, he thought, I know you're super talented, but you're only at the 9th level of Qi training. Even if you can beat someone in the early stage of Ju Yuan, how can you possibly beat someone in the middle stage? A few months of training won't close that gap with Huang Yuan. Zhang Yi wrung his hands, desperately trying to figure out what to do. He was too weak to intervene, but the arrogant junior brother Gu would not like him trying to stop him. Then, he saw Gu Shaoyang casually raise his sword finger to meet Huang Yuan's fist. Zhang Yi's face went white as a sheet, and his legs nearly gave way. It's over. Junior brother Gu is going head-to-head with Huang Yuan. He's going to be crippled, if not killed. Seeing Gu Shaoyang's nonchalant gesture, Huang Yuan sneered. Heh, boy, you really have no idea what you're up against. The other spectators shook their heads, sighing. Daring to point his sword at Huang Yuan's bull demon palm. That kid is toast. But then, a sharp, intense sword intent suddenly erupted from Gu Shaoyang, rising like a solitary mountain peak, poof, the protective energy around Huang Yuan's palm was easily shattered by Gu Shaoyang's finger, which then curled into a fist and struck. Huang Yuan raised an eyebrow and shouted, boy, you think that's enough? Get ready for this, boom, the slender, pale fist collided with the thick, calloused palm. Compared to Huang Yuan's hand, Gu Shaoyang's fist seemed fragile and delicate, not even in the same league, but everyone saw it. Huang Yuan's eyes widened in disbelief, his face turning ashen, crack, the sound of bone breaking echoed through the air. Chapter 22. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Kizaru's arms, thick as tree trunks, twisted at unnatural angles as he screamed and crashed to the ground. His face was ghostly white, covered in sweat. His right hand dangled uselessly, and his eyes were wide with horror and disbelief as he stared at Gu Shaoyang. Those nearby were so stunned their jaws nearly hit the floor. No way! Someone exclaimed. Kizaru, the inner sex bully, notorious for throwing his weight around, had his arm broken clean. And the guy who did it? Some punk who was only at the 9th level of Qi training. Was this kid some kind of demon in human form? A beast? Everyone was speechless, completely floored. Zhang Yi stood frozen, watching the scene unfold, and muttered, Junior brother Gu, is one seriously messed up dude. Gu Shaoyang's expression remained unchanged. Talk about bad luck for Kizaru. He just had to pick a fight over something trivial, against someone who practiced the bull demon fist. Strength was the last thing Gu Shaoyang worried about. He already had an arm strength exceeding 6,000 pounds, and the moment he clashed with Kizaru, he'd siphoned off a big chunk of Kizaru's power. Suddenly, his arm strength jumped up another 2,000 pounds, 8,000 pounds versus 5,000. A total shutdown. If Kizaru had relied on his Jiyuan cultivation, the fight would have been longer and harder. Looks like you won't be needing your stuff anymore. I'll have it tossed outside in a bit. Just hang tight. Gu Shaoyang said casually, then strolled into the single-family building that had once belonged to Kizaru. You. Kizaru, terrified, enraged, and humiliated, fainted dead away. The inner disciples watching Gu Shaoyang walk into the courtyard erupted in excited chatter. Who is this guy? He's insane. 9th level Qi training, one-punched Kizaru at the mid-Yuan stage. That's some serious monster stuff. Looks like the talent list is about to get a major shakeup. Gotta spread the word about this, ASAP. The inner disciples who had witnessed the fight scattered to spread the news. Zhang Yi was secretly impressed. A monster was a monster. He'd made waves as soon as he stepped into the inner gate. Soon, I'll probably be looking up to junior brother Gu. Scratch that. Zhang Yi recalled Kizaru's one-sided defeat and shook his head with a wry smile. Who am I kidding? I'm looking up now, okay? I bet I couldn't even take one punch from junior brother Gu. This place is sweet. Gu Shaoyang was pleased with the building's interior, except for Kizaru's stuff, which was annoying. Have all this junk tossed out front. Gu Shaoyang ordered the servant nearby. Yes. The servant replied, trembling. He was a handyman assigned by the sect to help the elite disciples, not one of Kizaru's people. He looked at Gu Shaoyang cautiously, not even daring to show his anger. In the past, people would come to challenge Kizaru from time to time, only to get crushed in a heartbeat. Broken arms, shattered legs, it was never pretty. When he heard Gu Shaoyang ring the doorbell, he'd expected the same outcome, but this time, it was Kizaru who'd gotten his arm broken. He was extra careful now, worried about accidentally angering the powerhouse in front of him, the guy who was even meaner than Kizaru. Junior brother Gu. Zhang Yi walked into the building with a complicated look. He gazed at the interior's elegant decoration, feeling both envy and awe. Senior brother Zhang, perfect timing. Gu Shaoyang smiled and said, I'm all set, we can head over to see Elder Lin. Zhang Yi nodded. The two walked out of the building toward the pill pavilion. People pointed and whispered as they passed. Snatch of phrases like that's him, freak, and monster floated on the air. Zhang Yi said, looks like the entire inner sect will know junior brother Gu's name before long. You've become an instant celebrity. Gu Shaoyang smiled and said modestly, senior brother Zhang is too kind. Mostly, Kizaru was just a chump. Zhang Yi said seriously, to be honest, for a 9th level Qi training to beat a mid-Yuan stage fighter, your record rivals senior brother Wei Zhuangwei's. You're without a doubt the top genius in the inner sect. Gu Shaoyang pondered, then asked, I keep hearing people mention him, but who exactly is Wei Zhuang? Zhang Yi showed sincere admiration, saying, senior brother Wei Zhuang is our Qinyan sect's young master, and everyone here acknowledges him as a top talent. He reached the 8th level of Qi training at 15, had 10% sword intent, and broke through Jiyuan at 16. In less than a year, he was at the late Jiyuan stage. He's always been at the top of the list. After that, he entered Ningxuan with great success. Some of the elders couldn't match him. Now, he's ranked 7th on the Great Yuan Kingdom's list of heroes. They say he's already at the late stage of Ningxuan. If he succeeds, the number 1 spot on that list will definitely go to senior brother Wei. Some genius, alright, Gu Shaoyang said, but he thought to himself, set a small goal now, and try to catch up with Wei Zhuang. Chapter 23. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 23. Elder Lin's place was right behind the pill pavilion, a big, spotless hall. You made it, he said, smiling as he waved Zhang Yi away. I figured your build was something special, tougher than most, so I picked this one out just for you. He tossed a manual to Gu Shaoyang, who checked it out. Banhai Xian Gong, he read, beginner level earth technique. Earth level. Didn't he say good stuff was rare? This was 2 whole levels higher. Stoked, Gu Shaoyang snatched up the manual. Thanks, master. Elder Lin chuckled, don't let the name fool you. It means vast sea, but it's got nothing to do with water-based techniques. It doesn't have any special properties, really, just one thing, the Yuan energy you get from training is way stronger and purer than what you'd get otherwise. It's like having a 3-level advantage over anyone else at your level. It's easily as good as a mid-level earth technique. Gu Shaoyang perked up. Will this technique open up my meridians? More precisely, it expands your dantian, Elder Lin corrected. The Jiyuan realm is all about the dantian, Qi cultivation breaks through it. Yuan is about condensing a Yuan force cyclone in the dantian. The bigger the cyclone, the better your skill. So, for most people, training with the Banhai Xian Gong would be pretty rough at first. But you've got an amazing physique, so it should be a lot easier on you. Gu Shaoyang winked. This was perfect for him, his bones were already genius-level material. Plus, he'd absorbed attributes from tons of monsters, making his body crazy strong. Physical torment was the least of his worries, and if it was still too hard, he could always head back to the Qilian Mountains for a few more monster traits. Oh, and I recommend hitting up the Scripture Pavilion for a physical training method. It's a waste not to use that natural strength of yours. Gu Shaoyang agreed, he was planning on it anyway. Finding a body training method would give him a solid excuse for being so much stronger than everyone else. Elder Lin then pulled out a small black pouch. Here's some Yuan stone. Use it to practice and break through Jiyuan as soon as you can. Gu Shaoyang took the pouch, peeked inside at the 20+ mid-grade Yuan stones, and grinned. Thanks, master. Having an elder for a teacher was pretty sweet. Earth-level skills, mid-grade Yuan stones, he was getting hooked up. Still, he hadn't forgotten why he was really here. Teacher, when can I start learning alchemy? Elder Lin just shook his head. You. He'd never understand this kid. He had crazy talent in martial arts, but he was still obsessed with alchemy. Once you break through Juyuan. Elder Lin waved him off. Just then, a servant came to the door. Elder Lin, senior brother Ji Fengji sent someone with something for you. Send them in. Gu Shaoyang saw a flicker of surprise on Elder Lin's face, and on impulse, he decided to stick around. A moment later, a handsome disciple in blue walked in, holding a grey cloth bag. I have met Elder Lin, he said respectfully. This is the sword-marked slate you wanted. Elder Lin nodded slightly, then turned to Gu Shaoyang. Shaoyang, bring it over here, will you? Yes. Gu Shaoyang nodded, walking toward the disciple, his heart pounding. He saw something, several bubbles. Bone structure, understanding, Yuan energy. All pretty standard. But hovering over the handsome disciple was one giant, golden bubble. It read. Sword Intent X 134. Gu Shaoyang was hyped. He didn't know what that sword intent attribute could do for him, but he knew he had to have it. Carefully, Gu Shaoyang took the bundle from the disciple. He could feel something heavy and hard inside the thin cloth. It felt almost prickly. Gu Shaoyang took the package and headed back to Elder Lin, quietly activating his power. Sword Intent Attribute. Absorb. In an instant, a flood of new sensations surged through Gu Shaoyang's mind. He imagined countless swords flashing before his eyes, an intense, piercing energy erupted from him, like a solitary peak reaching up through the clouds toward the heavens. Elder Lin shot to his feet, and even the handsome disciple behind Gu Shaoyang jumped back in surprise. Is this an epiphany? Elder Lin stared in astonishment. Chapter 24. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Gu Shaoyang was floored. He hadn't expected such a massive reaction. He'd absorbed those profound sword skills like a whale gulping water. His sword intent, that raw hunger for victory, was leveling up fast. Gu Shaoyang felt like he was standing on a lone peak in a sea of clouds. Suddenly, the clouds churned, turning orange-red. A golden light burst through, like something was about to be born. Sword intent evolving. Elder Lin's eyes lit up. He appeared next to Gu Shaoyang in a flash and said, stunned, 30%, sword intent. Gu Shaoyang slowly opened his eyes. The golden bubbles on the stone slab in his hand were gone, replaced by a countdown showing 3 days and 10 hours until a new bubble appeared. Absorbing just one had boosted his sword intent by 10%. The sword intent packed into that slab was insane. If he could keep it, he'd master the complete meaning of the sword in no time. Gu Shaoyang was also shaken. To leave such a deep, lasting sword intent on the stone with a single strike, how terrifying must that sword have been? Unthinkable. The solitary killing sword technique is only a high-level human martial art. Comprehending 20% of the sword's intent from it is already amazing, practically pushing the technique to its limits. Elder Lin said to Gu Shaoyang, still reeling, but I never imagined your swordsmanship talent was this high. Just touching the King Xian slate triggered an epiphany, evolving the inherently flawed intent of solitary killing into something new. It's not just about solitary killing anymore, is it? Gu Shaoyang nodded, remembering the golden light he'd seen under the sea of clouds on Gufeng, and said thoughtfully, it feels more like Chuyang's sword intent now. Alright. Elder Lin nodded, his admiration for Gu Shaoyang overflowing. As for the good-looking disciple who'd been standing behind Gu Shaoyang, witnessing this epiphany firsthand, he was speechless. Of course, he knew what Gu Shaoyang held. It was a blue stone slab brother Ji Feng had unearthed from some ruins. It was etched with the sword marks of an ancient master, a way to understand the art of swordsmanship, but you needed to study it closely. Without the base skill, you could sleep with it every night and still get nothing. Plenty of guys in the sect had borrowed the slate from brother Ji Feng. Few had gotten anything out of it, and even then it wasn't much, but this dude takes the slate. doesn't even walk 5 steps, and boom, enlightenment. It was a joke. And to top it off, this guy's only at the 9th level of Qi training, not even Juyuan, and he's got 30% sword intent, 30%. He's a monster. A freak. He was losing it. All he could think about was carrying the slate all the way to the elixir pavilion, feeling like a complete chump. Disciple Juanxiu felt like a total idiot. Elder Lin, the good-looking disciple, took a deep breath and said, "The stone slab's delivered. I'll be on my way. Staying near this monster any longer might break him." Elder Lin nodded to disciple Juanxiu, then took the grey cloth package from Gu Shaoyang and opened it. Inside was a plain bluestone slab, worn by time. A deep sword mark ran through the middle. An inexplicable aura seemed to flow within it. "Can you still tap into it?" Elder Lin looked at Gu Shaoyang hopefully. Gu Shaoyang shook his head. "That kind of state, it's gone. No way he'd find it again. The sword intent bubble's cooldown hadn't expired." Elder Lin nodded, disappointed. "Yeah, enlightenment's rare. Can't expect it twice in a row." After a moment, Elder Lin seemed to reach a decision. "Shaoyang, your swordsmanship talent is unmatched. Becoming my disciple might hold you back. Elder Lei Lai, who I mentioned before, would be a better fit. I'll keep this kendo slate for now. Come see me anytime you want to study it. In a few days, I'll have a long chat with Elder Lei." Gu Shaoyang, hearing he could see the stone whenever he wanted, was thrilled. "Thank you, Master." Then he added firmly, "But you don't need to talk to Elder Lei. I want to learn alchemy, no matter what. It's my life's dream." Elder Lin. Chapter 25. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 25. Tang Ming, congrats on making it into the inner sect, a short, plump young man in blue, flashing a slick smile, said to a handsome young man beside him, also dressed as an inner disciple. Any outer sect disciple would recognize that handsome young man as Tang Ming, who'd vanished after the outer sect competition. Tang Ming's smile was strained as he responded, "Senior brother Ho Fei, you're too kind. I just felt too ashamed to stay in the outer gate any longer." The chubby young man chuckled and patted him on the back. "Don't sweat it, Tang Ming. Guys with freakish natural strength like that are in a different league. Once you're in the inner sect, your cultivation will skyrocket past his. You'll leave him in the dust." Tang Ming's face brightened slightly. He nodded, a hint of a smile returning. "Speaking of which, the senior brother Kizaru I'm about to introduce you to is another monster when it comes to physical prowess." Ho Fei's voice was full of awe. Tons of disciples have tried to master the low-grade, powerful bull demon palm on the 2nd floor of the Sutra Pavilion, but no one's come close to Kizaru's level. He's got over 5,000 pounds of strength in both arms. He even took down a level 3 monster head-on and made it to number 49 on the talent list. That's how powerful he is. Tang Ming nodded in agreement, a flicker of admiration in his eyes, but for some reason, he couldn't shake the image of Gu Shaoyang shattering the axe in that Qi training disciple's hand with a single palm during the competition. Could Gu Shaoyang's natural strength really be over 5,000 pounds? Nah, no way. From now on, you'll have senior brother Kizaru watching your back in the inner sect. As long as you don't mess with the big shots on the merit list, you'll be golden. Ho Fei's bragging about Kizaru's power and reputation had Tang Ming feeling pretty good. Having a strong backer when you first enter the inner sect is a huge deal. It'll make future cultivation tasks way easier. We're here. Ho Fei pointed to a fancy little building nearby, his face beaming. See that sweet pad? That's senior brother Huang Yuan's place. Only the top dogs on the talent list get to live in those. Tang Ming glanced at his assigned wooden shack in his mind. Compared to the small building, it was like night and day. His eyes were filled with envy, awe, and renewed determination. This is the inner sect, where strength rules. The strong get all the perks. I'll get to live in one of those someday. Tang Ming thought. Remember your manners when you meet senior brother Huang. Ho Fei gave Tang Ming a last-minute reminder as they approached the courtyard, and he rapped respectfully on the door. After a moment, the courtyard door creaked open, a handyman poked his head out and asked, "Who are you looking for?" Ho Fei smiled smoothly. "We're here for senior brother Huang Yuan, of course. Tell him Ho Fei's here to see him." The handyman hesitated, his expression uncertain. Seeing the handyman dragging his feet, Ho Fei frowned. "Are you deaf? I said we're here to see senior brother Huang. Go tell him we're here." The handyman glanced at Ho Fei and Tang Ming before stammering, "Huang. Senior brother Huang Yuan doesn't live here anymore." The two were stunned. Ho Fei quickly recovered, chuckling. "Tang Ming, good news. Senior brother Huang must have crushed someone, moved up the talent list, and scored an even better place." Tang Ming couldn't help but crack a smile. Ho Fei turned back to the busboy, his face wreathed in smiles. "Tell me, which building is senior brother Huang in now? We'll rush over to congratulate him." The busboy looked even more uncomfortable, then blurted out, "Huang, senior brother Huang got challenged and injured. He's back in his old cabin." "What?" Ho Fei's eyes bugged out, his mouth gaping open. Tang Ming was equally stunned. How could senior brother Huang get taken down?" Ho Fei repeated, in disbelief. He suddenly grabbed the handyman by the collar, his face contorted with anger. "Tell me who did this to senior brother Huang." I don't know either." The handyman looked terrified. "He just entered the inner sect today, still wearing outer sect clothes. He didn't say his name." Beaten by a newbie? Ho Fei was speechless. Just then, another inner sect disciple strolled past and casually remarked, "You guys still looking for Kizaru? He got his ass handed to him by some monster at the 9th level of Qi training. The whole inner sect's talking about it. Didn't you hear? TSK. Ho Fei and Tang Ming froze, their minds reeling. 9th level of Qi training. Senior brother Kizaru got killed? No way. A name flashed through Tang Ming's mind, and his face paled. No, it can't be him. He can't be that strong. But remembering the freakish talent and unfathomable strength Gu Shaoyang displayed in the competition, Tang Ming was more and more certain his hunch was right. If that guy really went through all that trouble to get into the inner sect, only to have his newfound backer taken down by Gu Shaoyang, that would just be too much. Tang Ming felt a wave of bitterness wash over him, leaving him disheartened. The 6th update, asking for everything. Chapter 26. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Elder Lin gave me Vast Sea's mysterious art. It doesn't count against the 2 uses on this token. So, I should still have 3 more chances to check out the 2nd floor of the Sutra Pavilion. Gu Shaoyang stood in front of the Scripture Collection Pavilion, a surge of happiness washing over him as he thought about it. Each trip to the Sutra Pavilion's 2nd floor guaranteed at least 1 top-tier human-level skill. Every opportunity was gold. Right now, Gu Shaoyang only had the lonely killing sword technique, which was decent. He really didn't have that many martial arts skills under his belt. He was about to break through to the Juyuan realm, and most Juyuan warriors fought with top-tier human-level or even earth-level martial arts. Even the best human-level stuff was starting to feel lacking. These 3 trips to the Sutra Pavilion couldn't have come at a better time. The Gu Sha sword intent evolved into the Chuyang sword intent. If I want to keep developing it, I should probably pick up a fire attribute sword technique. Plus, a good body-hiding technique and some footwork. Those are my goals for today. Gu Shaoyang, already strategizing, strode into the pavilion. As he walked the short hallway, he spotted old Master Chuan Gong sitting with his eyes closed, like a dried-up old tree. Gu Shaoyang approached and gave a slight bow, noticing the attribute bubbles popping up around the elder. Vitality *1450, Twilight Qi *156. Gu Shaoyang frowned. After absorbing so many attribute bubbles, he'd started to notice a pattern. The stronger someone was, the less vitality leaked from their body, except in special cases like breakthroughs or during a fight. Guys like Ji Feng and Elder Lin had incredible control, but the vitality leaking from Elder Chuan Gong was like a wide-open faucet. Something was seriously wrong, plus, the old man's twilight aura was way stronger than the last time Gu Shaoyang had seen him. It didn't take a genius to figure out that Elder Chuan Gong was probably kicking the bucket soon. Gu Shaoyang thought for a moment, then quietly extracted the twilight attribute from the old man. The old guy had given him advice before, and he'd absorbed the elder's attributes to get stronger. This was the least he could do. With that, Gu Shaoyang turned and left. Unbeknownst to him, the moment he turned, the old man's eyes snapped open. It's him. I remember this disciple was only at the 6th level of Qi training a month ago, and now he's already at the 9th. Before, I felt my vitality slow, a slight improvement in my physical state. It seemed I met him that day. Today, the same thing happened, right after he bowed. The old man stared at Gu Shaoyang's back, a strange light in his eyes, and muttered, unless he's carrying some crazy treasure that can turn the world upside down, there's only one other explanation: this kid is blessed, lucky as hell. We're talking once in 10,000 years talent. It's a sign of great things to come for the Qingyun sect. Back in the Daqian kingdom, the king, Yan Shanjun, was on his deathbed. All the magic herbs and life-extending pills in the world couldn't save him, but then his 9th son, Zi Yan Xingtian, was born, and he miraculously lived for another 20 years. He didn't pass until Yan Xingtian took the throne. Could it be that I? The old man's face was flushed with excitement. Could I get that lucky too? Gu Shaoyang, oblivious to the old man's wild thoughts, was busy picking out martial arts. In his hands was a secret manual for footwork, shadow following skill, a combat-specific technique and one of the best human-level techniques around. There were other options, sure. Eagle walking kung fu, golden wild goose kung fu, plenty of basic stuff, but those techniques were more for long-distance travel, not as practical as shadow following skill in a fight. Gu Shaoyang knew he had crazy stamina and decent speed already. No need to focus on long journeys. That's why he went with shadow following skill, even if it was just human level. Mastering shadow following skill lets you create 3 phantoms to confuse your opponents. Like lightning, like a dream, like shadows, seriously powerful. Gu Shaoyang also had a swordsmanship technique in mind. Golden Crow sword technique, low-grade earth-level swordsmanship, violent, fierce, and unmatched, the perfect choice for understanding Chu Yang's sword intent. Chapter 27. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the end, there was only one option left for physical training. The 2nd floor of the Sutra Pavilion had far fewer books than the first. Gu Shaoyang began browsing, holding a couple of manuals, and with his 9th level Qi training, Gu Shaoyang stood out among the other Juyuan realm sect disciples on the 2nd floor. As Gu Shaoyang passed by 2 inner disciples, one of them glanced at him and snickered. Check out this rookie. Thinks winning the outer sect comp means he can just stroll into the 2nd floor of the Sutra Pavilion and grab whatever he wants like it's a farmer's market. The other disciple was about to laugh too, but he caught Gu Shaoyang's cold stare. His expression changed instantly, like he'd seen a ghost. Luckily, Gu Shaoyang just glanced at them and moved on. Damn. The first inner disciple took a breath and said, surprised, that kid's kinda freaky. One look and my heart was pounding like the time I ran into that level 4 monster on a mission. The other disciple gave him a strange look. You don't know who he is? The first disciple was stunned. Who is he? Some inner sect elder's nephew or something? Nope. The disciple shook his head solemnly. He's the beast who took down Kizaru from the elite list with a single punch. He's the only one in the whole inner sect still at the 9th level of Qi training. You're lucky he didn't hear you. Otherwise, yikes. The speaker paled, and sweat beaded on his forehead. His big plan after entering the inner sect was to challenge Kizaru and kick him out of his sweet spot. Gu Shaoyang's exploits were well known, making him synonymous with arrogance and trouble. He was no match for Kizaru, so if he ticked off this menace, the disciple couldn't even bear to think about it. Let's bounce. He grabbed his buddy and practically ran from the Sutra Pavilion. Gu Shaoyang didn't give the inner disciple's chatter a second thought. He kept looking for a suitable body training method, Vajra Overlord Body, top tier for humans. At its peak, your skin gets plated in gold, making you super tough and sword-proof. Too gaudy, not my style, powerful bull demon palm, low-grade earth level. Master it, and you'll punch with an extra 6,000 pounds of force, making your bare hands invincible. Isn't that what Kizari used? Too weak, won't cut it, prison-breaking demonic elephant technique, low-level earth level. Steals chi and blood to strengthen your muscles and bones. Master it, and you'll have amazing defense and the power of 5 elephants. Turns you into a flesh and blood zombie during training, making you neither man nor beast. Powerful, sure, but ruins your foundation. No thanks. Finally, Gu Shaoyang's eyes lit up, and he picked up a manual, dragon-grabbing power, low-grade earth level. Actually, it wasn't a pure body training method, more like an explanation of how to generate force. Practitioners could focus their entire body's strength into a single point, unleashing power several or even dozens of times stronger than normal. Of course, it demanded a lot from the body, but you'd get a workout during the process. Dragon grabbing, level 1, double the power. Level 2, quadruple the force. Level 3, 8 times the force. Level 5, mastered, unleash 32 times your fist's power. However, the physical requirements for level 5 are insane. The highest anyone at Qingyun sect has reached is level 3. Some think level 5 is impossible, just a theory. Gu Shaoyang was thrilled. He could do what others couldn't, he could endlessly extract and fuse monster physiques, so dragon grabbing's physical demands were nothing to him. He already had 4,000 pounds of strength in each arm. If he mastered dragon grabbing to level 3, that would be 32,000 pounds. 32,000 pounds of force exploding instantly. No ordinary fighter could withstand that. It was like this body training technique was custom-made for him. Gu Shaoyang couldn't wait to get back and study it. But first, he needed to break through to the Jiyuan realm. After picking out 3 manuals, Gu Shaoyang hurried out of the Sutra Pavilion. As he left, he thought he saw the elder at the door smile kindly at him. Chapter 28. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 28. The Hanhai Xian Gong is an earth-level martial art, so the internal energy you cultivate is way purer than Yangqi art. Before leveling up to Jiyuan, I need to swap out all the Yangqi art energy in my body for Hanhai Xian Gong energy. Moonlight streamed into the room as Gu Shaoyang sat, legs crossed, focused on practicing the vast sea mysterious gong techniques. Thanks to his current understanding, he quickly generated a tiny bit of vast sea mysterious gong energy in his meridians, even though it was weak. This new energy immediately lunged at and devoured the surrounding Qi Yang Ju energy like it was going out of style. 1 cycle, 2 cycles, Gu Shaoyang's internal energy dwindled, but his overall aura grew stronger. Finally, the last trace of Qi Yang Ju energy was completely consumed and transformed by the Hanhai Xian Gong energy. Gu Shaoyang's internal energy was down by 2/3, but it was now incredibly pure. Alright, time to rock and roll. Gu Shaoyang's eyes snapped open. He had placed over 20 mid-grade Yuan stones in front of him. Vitality *633, Vitality *598, Vitality *564. He started pulling the energy from 10 mid-grade Yuan stones, instantly dimming them. A surge of energy flooded Gu Shaoyang's body, rapidly fueling the vast sea mysterious gong energy he had just cultivated. The energy went from being as thick as his pinky to as thick as his thumb and kept growing. Gu Shaoyang felt his meridians starting to swell and ache, so he immediately channeled all the energy into his dantian. Boom! It felt like the morning bells and evening drums were clashing in his head. Massive amounts of energy poured into his dantian like a river flowing into the ocean. Gu Shaoyang's dantian expanded until it hit its limit. The supercharged energy suddenly imploded toward the center. A tiny vortex was born. The dantian couldn't hold the energy, so the vortex absorbed it all. The newborn vortex opened its insatiable mouth and swallowed everything in sight. Soon, Gu Shaoyang's meridian energy was depleted, and he immediately started sucking the life out of 10 more mid-grade Yuan stones. the vortex grew like crazy. After devouring the last 10 mid-grade Yuan stones, the vortex was still hungry. Gu Shaoyang simply pulled out all the Yuan stones he had, both mid-grade and low-grade, and gobbled them all up. After what felt like forever, Gu Shaoyang slowly opened his eyes. His body was surrounded by piles of dull mid to low-grade Yuan stones. Inside his dantian, a translucent Yuanli cyclone was gently spinning. The cyclone looked like it was made of countless tiny ice crystals or a vast sea of stars, magnificent and beautiful. Every time the cyclone rotated, it consumed an extremely pure energy that spread throughout Gu Shaoyang's body, infiltrating his very being. As Gu Shaoyang willed the cyclone to move, a white, translucent shield of vitality instantly appeared around him. This was the telltale sign that a warrior had entered the Jiyuan realm. The vast Xi Xian Gong is something else. I don't know how strong my Yuanli is yet, but this Yuan Qi shield is way thicker than Tang Ming's was. Plus, I can feel that the cyclone is still hungry and hasn't been fully fed. I can't even imagine how powerful this skill will be when I master it. Gu Shaoyang's face lit up with joy. Since he was feeling so mentally sharp after his breakthrough, he decided to skip sleep and pull out the capturing the dragon power, the golden crow sword technique, and the shadow following skill he'd gotten from the scripture pavilion during the day and started to study them. 3 days later, in the courtyard of the small building, Gu Shaoyang wielded a long sword, swinging it with freedom and power. Waves of intense heat radiated from the blade. Suddenly, he flickered, and another figure appeared in the courtyard. Both figures danced with their swords simultaneously, making it impossible to tell which one was the real Gu Shaoyang. After a moment, one of the figures shattered, and Gu Shaoyang dropped his sword. He stepped forward and punched the huge boulder in front of him. Boom! That the earth-shattering sound scared the handyman, who was secretly watching, half to death. When the dust settled, the huge boulder was gone, leaving only rubble on the ground. The handyman was stunned and couldn't snap out of it for the longest time. He looked at Gu Shaoyang again. His eyes had completely changed. He no longer saw a human being but some kind of monster in human skin. Everyone said that Kizaru at the inner gate had amazing arm strength, but the handyman knew that Kizaru, the former owner of the small building, wasn't even fit to carry Gu Shaoyang's shoes. It was just terrifying. Gu Shaoyang retracted his fist, looking satisfied, and stood in silence. In 3 days, he had mastered all 3 martial arts skills. The Golden Crow sword technique really helped me grasp the Chuyang sword intent. As soon as I started practicing, I felt like the sun was about to rise, pouring out golden light. Capturing the dragon power was easier than I thought. As long as you're strong enough, you can level up pretty fast. Too bad my physique isn't the best, so I can only get to level 2, doubling my strength. Guess I'll have to head back to the Qilian Mountains when I get a chance. Gu Shaoyang muttered to himself, but the shadow following skill, which is just a top-level human-level skill, took me 3 days of hard work just to create a single phantom. Progress is super slow. Gu Shaoyang didn't know that if other inner disciples heard him, they'd probably kill themselves out of embarrassment. Even for a martial arts genius, mastering a top-tier human-level martial art in 3 days is considered a huge accomplishment. He already created a phantom, which is a decent achievement in itself, but he's still not happy with his progress. Is he even for real? Chapter 29. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Zhu Rihua, ranked 9th, broke through to the late Jiyuan stage 3 months ago. He's skilled with swords and fists. Chao Yi, ranked 12th, broke through to the mid-Jiyuan stage 9 months ago. Palms are his thing. Sun Ling, number 24, hit the mid-Jiyuan stage 6 months ago, and she's good with a sword. Gu Shaoyang flipped through a thin booklet, his eyes scanning the list. Then, a smile. Hey, wouldn't you know it, I'm on here. Gu Shaoyang, number 48, 9th level of Qi training. Breakthrough date, unknown. Special skill, boxing. Unknown. Basically, besides his name and level, they knew squat. This was the Inner Door Talent Scout report, going for 5 low-grade yuanshi a pop. He'd borrowed this latest edition from Zhang Yi for a reason. He quickly found what he was looking for. Hua Shirong, ranked 36th, hit the mid-Yuan stage 4 months ago. Swords are his game. Personality, arrogant and a hothead. Bingo. That's the one. Gu Shaoyang snapped the booklet shut, a look of satisfaction on his face. His plan: challenge Hua Shirong, number 36, ASAP. First, to test his new Yuan realm strength. Second, to score some Yuan stones. Hua Shirong, tall, skinny, and with a permanent chill in his vibe, sat in the hall, a long knife resting beside him. His blue robe was pristine. A busboy cautiously delivered his tea. "Brother Hua, your rain after bluestone tea." Hua Shirong took a sip, then his eyes narrowed. He hurled the entire cup at the busboy. "Ack!" The handyman yelped, burned, but stifled the sound. He was clearly terrified of Hua Shirong. "Too cold." "Get another one," Hua Shirong said flatly. Yes, senior brother Hua." The handyman scurried away to clean up the mess. A flicker of something akin to pleasure crossed Hua Shirong's face. He reveled in the power of controlling others' lives so easily. The handyman returned with a fresh cup. Hua Shirong's face softened slightly, ready to finally savor his tea, when a massive crash echoed from the doorway. Bang! The splintered remains of the wooden door exploded into the hall from the courtyard outside. Hua Shirong's hand jolted, spilling half his tea. "Hua Shirong, come on out and die." A lazy, clear voice rang from beyond the doorway. Hua Shirong rose, face dark, knife in hand, and stalked towards the entrance. Who the hell? He found a crowd gathered, forming a ring, all with that "this is gonna be good" look on their faces. Standing before him was a lean, handsome young man, looking back calmly. The young man's eyes lit up when he saw Hua Shirong. "You must be Hua Shirong. Funny, I've decided I want your spot. I'll give you a minute to pack your stuff and clear out, or things are gonna get ugly." Hua Shirong nearly turned purple with rage. He'd wrecked his door, disturbed his peace, and now he was telling him to leave. Who did this guy think he was? Gu Shaoyang is at it again. First Wang Yuan, now Hua Shirong. He just hit Yuan, so he's feeling himself. Hua Shirong overheard the murmurs. He sneered, pointed at the handsome youth, and said, "So, it's you. This little punk thinks I'm as useless as Kizaru. I'll teach you a lesson today." Hua Shirong roared, his long knife flashing free of its sheath. He moved like a blur, attacking. Gu Shaoyang saw him coming and instantly retreated. "Hua Shirong, bring it on." Hua Shirong pressed his attack, the force of his mid-Yuan stage power roaring out, tenfold stronger than that of Tang Ming before. The glint of the blade became a tidal wave, crashing towards Gu Shaoyang, the sharp energy of the sword spraying everywhere. Onlookers had to step back to avoid the blast. Hua Shirong's swordplay is on another level. Whispers rose from the crowd, watching the figure wrapped in the sword's glow. Hua Shirong might be a jerk, but he's got a real gift for swordsmanship. He's almost mastered the fire tree and silver flower sword technique at its base level. Who do you think takes this one? Someone frowned. Hard to say. Hua Shirong strong, but Gu Shaoyang must have something up his sleeve to pick this fight. Plus, he beat Kizaru at the 9th level of Qi training. Who knows how strong he is now that he's broken through Yuan. Look, they turned to see Gu Shaoyang weaving and darting, creating more phantoms. The images flickered back and forth, blurring into one. It's the shadow and shape gong. Gu Shaoyang's a freak. He's mastered that skill already. Hua Shirong is in trouble. Unexpectedly, Hua Shirong let out a wild laugh. "Kid, if that's all you got, get ready to die." Hua Shirong's expression turned vicious. He pointed at one of Gu Shaoyang's afterimages and yelled, "Caught you. With my sword's intent locked on, there's nowhere to hide." Fireworks. Hua Shirong slashed with incredible brilliance. An overwhelming force poured out of him. The crowd gasped. Sword intent. Hua Shirong realized the meaning of the sword. He was holding out. That attack is on par with a late Yuan stage warrior. Gu Shaoyang is done. They looked at Gu Shaoyang with pity, but Gu Shaoyang simply stopped, a smile on his face. Chapter 30. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Gu Shaoyang just stood there, staring at Hua Shirong's powerful sword like he'd already given up. The energy surrounding him, a shadow of his martial arts prowess, was ripped apart by the sheer force of the sword. Gu Shaoyang scared stiff. Someone muttered. Yeah, who wouldn't be, facing a blow like that? What a shame. The onlookers shook their heads, sighing. Hey, tough guy, what happened to all that strength? You gonna use it, or what? You think beating Kizaru by dumb luck means you can run wild in the inner sect? Hua Shirong sneered, raising his blade. You're just a small fish in a big pond. You have no clue what you're up against. That the blade was about to come down on Gu Shaoyang's head, and some couldn't even watch. Then, slowly, Gu Shaoyang raised a hand, a faint white light shimmering around it. What's that? An energy shield. How's it so strong? He just joined Jiyuan. What's he even trying to do? Even a Jiyuan expert's shield wouldn't stop Hua Shirong's attack, right? And then, in full view of everyone, Gu Shaoyang threw a punch right at Hua Shirong. You asked for it, capturing dragon strength, ×2, starred that everyone's eyes went wide. Gu Shaoyang, was he out of his mind? Blocking Hua Shirong's sword with his bare hand? That was a death wish. But the next moment, Gu Shaoyang's fist slammed into Hua Shirong's blade. Instead of a massive explosion, and Gu Shaoyang flying backward, there was just a small sound. Crack, crack, crack. Like ice breaking, Gu Shaoyang's fist kept moving forward, the white energy shield around it gradually weakening. Hua Shirong's sword energy crumbled under Gu Shaoyang's fist. What the? Hua Shirong yelled in disbelief. Bang. Gu Shaoyang's fist landed square on his chest, terrifying power erupted, and Hua Shirong's energy shield shattered like an eggshell. His chest caved in, and he went flying, landing hard 30 feet away. Whoa! The crowd was stunned. The tables had turned so fast. 1 second, Hua Shirong was all-powerful, wielding his sword. The next, he was getting beat down by Gu Shaoyang. The shift was unbelievable. Finally, someone squeaked out, one-hit kill. He destroyed the sword intent. How strong is Gu Shaoyang's punch? Is he physically unbeatable? In the entire inner sect, only Xiang Cheng, ranked third on the talent list, could even compete with Gu Shaoyang in terms of raw power. Gu Shaoyang's only been here a few days, and he's already taking down masters on the elite list. I think I'm seeing a repeat of senior brother Wei Zhuang. Poor guy. Gu Shaoyang shook his head, hearing the commotion. He'd used Yuanli to protect his fist, and then unleashed 8,000 pounds of force in an instant. Hua Shirong only understood half the sword intent, so the power of the sword move was only half. Even if it was the real deal, he would still have crushed it. He walked over to Hua Shirong. Hua Shirong was lying on the ground, staring at him with a mix of hatred and terror. Gu Shaoyang looked down at him. Who's the small fish now? Who overestimated themselves? Hua Shirong bit his lip, saying nothing. Gu Shaoyang smiled, pointing at the small building. I liked your place, but seeing how much you love it and want to protect it, I won't force you. 100 middle-grade Yuan stones, and I'll let you stay. Huh? The onlookers gasped. This guy wasn't challenging anyone, he was running a protection racket. Hello. Earth to Hua Shirong. You hearing me? Gu Shaoyang picked Hua Shirong up by one hand and shook him impatiently. His internal organs were already rattled. Finally, he managed to choke out, I don't have 100 middle-grade Yuan stones. Only 43. Gu Shaoyang frowned, thought for a moment, and nodded reluctantly. Alright, I'll give you a discount. A few minutes later, Gu Shaoyang walked away happily, carrying a small bag full of Yuan stones. Before leaving, he gave a meaningful glance at the stone tablet displaying the talent list. The disciples who saw this scene shuddered, thinking, who's going to be next on that list? For the first time in their lives, they thought, talent list, no talent list, who cares? Being average is looking pretty good right now, asterisk.